YouTubers, welcome back to AZ2 Ozarks. We found some compost. So you can see behind me this big pile of compost. There is a horse ranch nearby, kind of. It's about 25 miles away, and they advertised compost. So that was really exciting for us, and they offered delivery. It was reasonably priced, and what they were using was a dump trailer, and the dump trailer was 17 feet by 7.5 feet by 2 feet high, and so they said it was the equivalent of about 4 truck beds. And we have so far received 3 loads of the compost here. We ordered 4, but yesterday it was raining quite a bit, and you can see he was kind of getting stuck right over here, and he was having trouble backing in. We actually wanted it way over closer to the tarp, which is way back there. You can kind of see the greenhouse peeking through. However, he was unable to do that. He just had regular street tires on his truck, and even though he had 4-wheel drive, he was still getting a little bit slidey in the mud. Anyway, we have the compost. We're excited about it. We will be spreading it on top of the garden area, which is where we had tilled in our previous video, and we are just going to set it on top, because where we tilled, that was all grass, and we now know from experience that when we just till up the grass as we did in the greenhouse, we have constant weeds. And so I'm out there pulling weeds every day, and I am not on top of it, but I'm barely keeping it maintained and under control a little bit. So we're going to try putting this compost on top and allow the plants to grow on just the compost, and then ultimately that soil will continue to get better and better over time as we keep amending it. This really is nice stuff. It's not completely broken down, but it's pretty well broken down. And really, it just gives some work for the earthworms to do. Hopefully this will be sufficient to make a very bountiful garden this year. The next step in preparing the garden bed is to burn the surface. So any of the weeds or seeds that are exposed, we're going to burn. So I will be using a propane torch, and that's actually something that came in really handy when we were back in Arizona, because our yard was all decorative rock and weeds would just come up, and so I would just burn the weeds, and that was our landscaping back in Arizona. This is really different. I'm going to go ahead and get started burning. Well, it took quite a bit of time, but I have completed all of the weed burning for this garden area. And so what is left now is getting all of that composted manure from way over here and spreading it back over the garden. So Rick will be doing that with the tractor, which should make it way easier than doing it by hand. And then we have 2 freezing nights of temperature up ahead before planting. we go. We have our 4 dump trailer loads of horse manure compost all spread out on the 100-foot by 25-foot garden. And the sun is getting ready to go down. Just another beautiful day in the Ozarks. There's our sunset. So I am really quite excited to begin planting this. I have a few things I'm going to do differently than I did in the greenhouse, just because the disorganization in there is kind of driving me nuts. I just went for it, and so my rows are really quite crooked. But I'll do it a little bit differently out here. But this is pretty ginormous, and we'll have to compare to the greenhouse if this controls the weeds better. So does covering it first with the tarp, then tilling it, then weed burning it, and then covering it with a layer without working it in, does that keep the weeds more at bay than just tilling as we did in the greenhouse? I hope so, because those weeds in the greenhouse are a little bit out of control. But either way, we'll compare and we'll see how it goes. I'll keep you guys updated, so make sure you subscribe so you see all of our updates in the future. And there's our Bradford pear right there with the white blossoms on it. So it's actually an invasive species, and the Missouri Department of Conservation recommends getting rid of those because they lead to all kinds of problems. So ultimately, we will be cutting it down and pulling it out, even though it is a lovely looking tree right now. But I will be having my fruit trees planted over here soon too. So many plans, so many ideas, so little time. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up.